Anikkam Dohadevan, everyone. Nice to be with you. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I will share the screen. First topic. Here we go. Oh, we're starting a new series today. It's called Introduction to Hinduism. And it's designed as a summary that you could present to a community gathering, Hindus, non-Hindus, whatever. It's very basic, covers all the basic points. And it comes from What is Hinduism book. And as the points are basic, you will certainly know most or even all of them. But the point behind the presentation is you may find one or two points you forgot about, and you may figure out a new way to present the points you knew about. So both are possibilities here. Oh, it's in sections. Story. Hindus in the West are sometimes invited to give a talk explaining their religion at a local college, schoolroom, interfaith group, or even a Christian church. Some have confided to me that they do not feel qualified to give such a presentation. There is clearly a need for an authentic, non-academic introduction to Hinduism that can be presented with confidence on such occasions. I prepared this publisher's desk, drawn from our book, What is Hinduism, as a broad summary of our faith that can be drawn upon to properly educate others in the basics of Hinduism, minus all the misconceptions and myths. So there's the URL of the text. If you ask Google, what is Hinduism? As of a couple of days ago, you will get some 259 million results. Imagine, huh? That's a lot of results to sift through. Many are from outsiders offering their best take. Many are from antagonists taking their best shot. Too few are knowledgeable. Fewer still are authentic. Rare is the answer that goes beyond parochial sectarian understandings. Scarcely any encompass the huge gamut implied in the question. For these reasons alone, this introduction to Hinduism was inevitable. So it's hard to find a good overview on the web. And FYI, our one-page summary of what is Hinduism is the 9th listing. So that's pretty good out of 259 million to be in 9th place there. Gurudeva well understood the challenges that all religions face in today's world, whether from outside or within. He wrote that every religion consists of the spiritual precepts, practices, and customs of a people or society, transmitted from generation to generation, that maintain the connection with higher realms of consciousness, thus connecting man to God and keeping alive the highest ideals of culture and tradition. Gurudeva observed that if this transmission misses even one generation, a religion can be lost for all time, left to decay in the dusty libraries of history, anthropology, and archaeology. He strove to protect the religion he loved so dearly. He would ask rhetorically, where are the once prominent religions of the Babylonians, Egyptians, Aztecs, Mayans, American Indians, or Hawaiians? Little remains of them. There they go, fading away. Not long ago, it was feared by some and hoped by many that Hinduism, the religion of 1 billion people, 1/6 of the human race living mostly in India, would meet the same fate. That it survived a history of religious conquest and extermination that wiped out virtually every other ancient religion is exceptional. Ironically, this noble faith, having withstood the ravages of invasion, plunder, and brutal domination by foreign invaders for over 1,000 years, stumbled into the 20th century to meet the subtler forces of secularism and the temptations of materialism. So that's today's world. You see it even in India, that more and more people aren't interested in religion, and definitely more and more people are focused on acquiring wealth. Christian propaganda fabricated by 16th century Jesuit missionaries, empowered by the 19th century British Raj, and carried forth today by the Western and India media, had dealt heavy blows over the centuries to the subjugated, prideless Hindu identity. A typical Christian tactic was to demean the indigenous faith, impeaching it as rife with superstition, idolatry, antiquated values, archaic customs, and umpteen false gods. India's communist, secular media stressed caste abuse and wretched social ills, branding as radical, communal, and fundamentalist all efforts to stand strong for anything Hindu. But an unexpected Hindu resurgence has burst forth across the globe in the last 20 years, driven in part by the Hindu diaspora and in part by India's newfound pride and influence. Hinduism entered the 21st century with fervent force as recent generations discovered its treasures and its relevance to their times. Hinduism is going digital, working out its faults and bolstering its strengths. Leaders are stepping forth. Parents are striving for ways to convey to their children the best of their faith to help them do better in school and live a fruitful life. Temples are coming up across the earth by the thousands. Communities are celebrating Hindu festivals, parading their deities in the streets of Paris, Berlin, Toronto, and Sydney in grand style without worrying that people might think them odd or pagan. Yoga is being universally practiced in all faith communities. Eloquent spokesmen are now representing Hinduism's 1 billion followers at international peace conferences, interfaith gatherings, and discussions about Hindu rights. Hindu students in high schools and universities are going back to their traditions, turning to the gods in the temples, not because their parents say they should, but to satisfy their own inner need, to improve their daily life, to fulfill their soul's call. When it comes time to explain our religion in any of these settings, we offer the following. Next section, many faiths under one name. Oh, this is a very good teaching that may not have come to mind immediately. A major reason why those new to Hinduism find it difficult to understand is its diversity. Hinduism is not a monolithic tradition. There isn't a one Hindu opinion on things, and there is no single spiritual authority to define matters for the faith. There are several different denominations, the 4 largest being Saivism, Shaktism, Vaishnavism, and Smartism. Further, there are numberless schools of thought or sampradayas expressed in tens of thousands of guru lineages or paramparas. Each is typically independent and self-contained in its authority. In a very real sense, this grand tradition can be defined and understood as 10,000 faiths gathered in harmony under a single umbrella called Hinduism, or Sanatana Dharma. The tendency to overlook this diversity is the first common The tendency to overlook this diversity is the common first step to a faulty perception of the religion. Most spiritual traditions are simpler, more unified, and unambiguous. All too often, despite its antiquity, its profound systems of thought, the beauty of its art and architecture, and the grace of its people, Hinduism remains a mystery. Twisted stereotypes abound that would relegate this richly complex, sophisticated, and spiritually rewarding tradition to little more than crude caricatures of snake charmers, cow worshippers, and yogis lying on beds of nails. That's a great paragraph. Fortunately, there's an easier, more natural way to approach the vastness of Hinduism. From the countless living gurus, teachers, and pundits who offer clear guidance, most seekers choose a preceptor, study his teachings, embrace the sampradaya he propounds, and adopt the precepts and disciplines of his tradition. That is how the faith is followed in actual practice. Holy men and women counted in the hundreds of thousands are the ministers, the defenders of the faith, and the inspirers of the faithful. So sometimes individuals complain about Hinduism in this context, that it's too complex. But that's not really accurate. It's not complex. Complex to me is, what's it called? Quantum physics. That's complex. Way beyond me. Hinduism has many traditions, and it's just like a large university. It has many majors you can take, but you don't have to know about all of them. You choose one major and you learn that portion of the knowledge that the university offers. Well, Hinduism's the same way. We choose a teacher, and therefore we've chosen what the teacher teaches as the course we're going to major in. And what other teachers are teaching, we don't really need to understand. We want to respect it, but there's no need to understand it in depth. So it's not really complicated if you're practicing it. Oh, next section, 4 basic principles. And that's our question for you. What do you think the 4 basic principles from Gurudeva's teachings about Hinduism are? Give you a minute. One way to gain a simple, though admittedly simplistic overview is to understand the 4 essential beliefs shared by the vast majority of Hindus: karma, reincarnation, all-pervasive divinity, and Dharma. We could say that living by these 4 principles is what makes a person a Hindu. So we're going through the principle of karma. We all know what karma is. Karma literally means deed or act. Universal principle of cause and effect, action and reaction. It's a natural law of the mind, just as gravity is a law of matter. One way I like to explain it is, in some religions, God punishes and rewards people's actions. I imagine that keeps them quite busy. In Hinduism, God created the law of karma, and the law of karma takes care of it, and he doesn't need to do that anymore. It's a self-governing principle in the mind, and every action has a predetermined reaction. So he's free to do other things, so to speak. Karma is not fate, for a man acts with free will, creating his own destiny. Fate means you can't change it at all. So, of course, you can change it, which is a presentation in itself. So it's not unchangeable. That's what saying karma is not fate means. The Vedas tell us if we sow goodness, we will reap goodness. If we sow evil, we will reap evil. Karma refers to the totality of our actions and their concomitant reactions in this and previous lives, all of which determines our future. It is the interplay between our experience and how we respond to it that makes karma devastating or helpfully invigorating. In other words, if we end up in certain situations, we don't accept them, we don't understand how we created it, then we'll go through it again. So it's not just the experience, it's how we respond to it. We need to respond with understanding, and then it doesn't need to repeat itself. And this says the same thing. The conquest of karma lies in intelligent action and dispassionate reaction. Don't want to react to it emotionally. Not all karmas rebound immediately. Some accumulate and return unexpectedly in this or other births. Vedas explain, according as one acts, so does he become. One becomes virtuous by virtuous action, bad by bad action. Oh, that's pretty straightforward. Reincarnation. Reincarnation, punarjanma, is a natural process of birth, death, and rebirth. At death, we drop off the physical body and continue evolving in the inner worlds and our subtle bodies until we again enter into birth. The Hindu approach to spiritual life doesn't make sense without reincarnation. In other words, we can't get to the final goal in one life. So if there weren't reincarnation, the whole path wouldn't make sense. So it's a necessary component of a spiritual effort that takes more than one lifetime to accomplish. Through the ages, reincarnation has been the great consoling element within Hinduism, eliminating the fear of death. We are not the body in which we live, but the immortal soul which inhabits many bodies in its evolutionary journey through samsara. After death, we continue to exist in unseen worlds, enjoying or suffering the harvest of earthly deeds until it comes time for yet another physical birth. The actions set in motion in previous lives form the tendencies and conditions of the next. Reincarnation ceases when karma is resolved, God is realized, and moksha, liberation, is attained. So that's Gurudeva's twofold definition of liberation. We have to resolve karma and realize God. When he adds the third one, then we have to go through all necessary experiences. The Vedas, after death, the soul goes to the next world, bearing in mind the subtle impressions of its deeds, and after reaping their harvest, turns again to this world of action. Thus, he who has desires continues subject to rebirth. So desire is a very important factor, much more important in the inner worlds than it is in the physical world, in that it determines what happens much more rapidly and much more strongly. So Gurudeva said, if you want to move to another country, think about that country as during your transition, and you'll get born there. You have to think about it with a lot of desire, though, not just intellectually. If you want to get born back into your same family, which some grandmothers couldn't think of anything else they would rather do than just get reborn in their family. If they think about that strongly, that's where they'll go. So desire brings us back and determines where we come back. All-pervasive divinity. As a family of faiths, Hinduism upholds a wide array of perspectives on the divine, yet all worship the one all-pervasive supreme being hailed in the Upanishad. So that's a very important point, because in the popular mind, some people's popular minds, and in some presentations you would find on the web, it's going to say, Hinduism is a pluralistic religion. It believes in the trinity of gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra, or Shiva. So, of course, pluralistic religion is another term for a primitive religion, and that's therefore something we don't want to be called primitive religion. So we have to make sure that people we're talking to realize that all Hindus believe in a one all-pervasive supreme being. It's just they don't agree on the name or the nature of that supreme being. But they believe there is only one supreme being, Ekam Sat. Well, now we're going through Gurudeva's explanation of the three perfections of the Supreme Being. As absolute reality, God is unmanifest, unchanging, and transcendent, the self-God. Timeless, formless, and spaceless. Pure consciousness, God is a manifest primal substance, pure love and light, flowing through all form. Existing everywhere in time and space as infinite intelligence and power. As primal soul, God is our personal Lord, source of all three worlds, our Father, Mother, God. So those are the three perfections. Who protects, nurtures, and guides us. We beseech God's grace in our lives while also knowing that He, she is the essence of our soul, the life of our life. Oh, that's monistic theism. We worship personal aspect of God, but we claim our identity with all-pervasive consciousness and transcendent reality. Each denomination also venerates its own pantheon of divinities. Mahadevas are great angels, known as gods, who were created by the Supreme Lord and who serve and adore Him. The Vedas proclaim, He is the God of forms, infinite, and whose glory all things are, smaller than the smallest atom, and yet the creator of all, ever living in the mystery of His creation. In the vision of this God of love, there is everlasting peace. He is the Lord of all, who, hidden in the heart of things, watches over the world of time. Shvetashvatara Upanishad. That's a beautiful verse. Dharma. When God created the universe, He endowed it with order, with the laws to govern creation. Dharma is God's divine law prevailing on every level of existence, from the sustaining cosmic order to religious and moral laws, which bind us in harmony with that order. In relation to the soul, Dharma is the mode of conduct most conducive to spiritual advancement, the right and righteous path. It is piety and ethical practice, duty and obligation. So Dharma means a lot of different things, including religion. So broad, it's helpful to use an adjective in front of it, so you know what type of Dharma you're talking about. So this is really talking here about Grahastha Dharma. In relation to the soul, Dharma is the mode of conduct most conducive to spiritual advancement. So that's a beautiful definition of Dharma in terms of a person. I'm following Dharma. I'm following the mode of conduct most conducive to my spiritual advancement. When we follow Dharma, we are in conformity with the truth that adheres and instructs the universe, and we naturally abide in closeness to God. Adharma is opposition to divine law. Oh, this is a beautiful statement by Gurudeva. Dharma is to the individual what its normal development is to a seed, the orderly fulfillment of an inherent nature and destiny. Oh, nice statement. Tudukara, Dharma yields heaven's honor and earth's wealth. What is there then that is more fruitful for a man? There is nothing more rewarding than Dharma, nor anything more ruinous than its neglect. So the word translated as Dharma is the ancient Tamil word Aram. Very good. Oh, we have our second topic. Seventh character quality. Calmness. Oh, we have a 4-step process to developing a character quality, understanding it, which means to define it, cognize its expressions, realize its benefits, practice its expressions. So, defining it, give you a second. How would you define calmness? I'll read the workbook's explanation. Again, these are explanations for teenagers. Calmness means remaining serene, composed, and undisturbed. It is cultivated by quieting my emotions when I am challenged or upset. Its opposite is agitation. So how we handle getting emotional determines if we're calm or not. And Gurudeva, a few quotes. If you are not peaceful, you are still reacting to past habit patterns. If you don't feel peaceful, pretend that you do. Feel peace. Feel everybody feeling that same calmness right now. In other words, pretending or visualizing can actually help you feel more peaceful. Another quote. The mind becomes calm through your understanding of experience and how experience has become created. So it's easier to be calm when you accept that you created the experience than if you blame it on others. The clouding of the mirror of the mind, that reflective pond of awareness which when calm sees clearly, or the ripples of disturbance on the mind's surface, distort seeing and confuse understanding. Quite a sentence. So clouding the mind, we can cloud the mind through lots of emotion being present, through unresolved situations from the past. Ripples of disturbance means the thought process is not smooth at the moment. Then we don't understand things. If your emotions are upset and you're suffering, there's an area within you that's calm, peaceful, dynamic, vibrant, watching. That's the body of the soul. So that's a simple way to think about calmness. All I have to do is move my awareness to the area of the mind that's always calm. It's there even when I'm not calm. Just as when I'm calm, being disturbed is there too. Okay, our 3 examples. Learning that a major storm is coming. Sounds like Hawaii, we just went through major storms. You, calmness. Methodically make the appropriate preparations. Agitation. Become emotional and are unable to address the urgent needs. Second example. After a disagreement with a friend, you, calmness. Control your speech and calm down quickly. Agitation. Speak angry words and remain upset for a few days. Third example, when giving a challenging task, try again. Third example, when given a challenging task, you, calmness, remain centered and make a sound plan to accomplish it. Agitation, worry about failure, become agitated and lose the mental clarity needed to figure it out. There's 2 or more thoughts, words, attitudes, and behaviors that are representative of people who possess calmness, and make a list for those who possess agitation. Give you a second to think about that. Okay, realize its benefits. A couple of quotes here. A nice one from Yogaswami. Be calm, even if God appears. Offer him a seat and be calm. That's a great statement. Then we have a long one from Gurudeva. Excerpted, so the first sentence, you don't have continuities, but he's talking about sadhana. The keys are moderation and consistency. Consistency is the key to the conquest of karma. If you go to extremes or are sporadic in your sadhana, you can easily slide backwards. What happens when you slide backwards? You become fearful, you become angry, you become jealous, you become confused. What happens when you move forward? You become brave, you become calm, you become self-confident, and your mind is clear. So we want to be consistent and moderate in our sadhana. That helps us be calm. It is often feared that meditation and religious devotion cause a withdrawal from the world. The practice of sadhana I have described does not detach you from or make you indifferent to the world. Rather, it brings up a strength within you, a shakti, enabling you to move the forces of the world in a positive way. What is meant by moving the forces of the world? That means fulfilling realistic goals that you set for yourself. That means performing your job as an employer or as an employee in the most excellent way possible. That means stretching your mind and emotions and endurance to the limit, and therefore getting stronger and stronger day by day. You are involved in the world, and the world is in a technological age. Beautiful quote. Oh, practicing its expressions. We'll read the exercise here for practicing. When you find yourself becoming upset with others during these 2 weeks, deliberately breathe deeply for a few minutes to calm emotions and relax the mind. Breathe deeply. That's what this is saying. That's why I looked up breathe deeply on Wikipedia. It has some interesting information. Diaphragmatic breathing, or deep breathing, is breathing that is done by contracting the diaphragm, a muscle located horizontally between the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity, according to the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. Deep breathing involves slow and deep inhalation through the nose, usually to a count of 10, followed by slow and complete exhalation for a similar count. The process may be repeated 5 to 10 times, several times a day. According to the University of Texas Counseling and Mental Health Center, diaphragmatic breathing allows one to take normal breaths while maximizing the amount of oxygen that goes into the bloodstream. It is a way of interrupting the fight or flight response and triggering the body's normal relaxation response. So, of course, this is something that is very basic in Gurudeva's teachings, breathing from the diaphragm and not from the chest. So we can see it's well accepted in the medical and the counseling field as calming us down, avoiding panic or agitation just breathing deeply. So they say count of 10. Gurudeva's initial one is you breathe in for 1 and hold 9. So that's how we get to 10. Breathe out for 9, hold 1. So it's the same idea. 10, count of 10. Oh, practice its expressions. That's the slide when I say for adults, we're just suggesting out of the 64 character qualities, you work on the ones that you think you need to improve. The ones you're doing okay at or doing really well at, there's no reason to work on those. So if you feel calmness is something you need to improve, then you can figure out a practice to do to achieve that. Oh, thank you very much.